I've played the Elder Scrolls Online for quite a while now, and I, by all rights, ought to have done a lot more questing than I actually have. But the truth is, I've spent a lot more time just logging in and hanging around Daggerfall, collecting plants and selling them in the guild store, and then once in a while looking for furnishings I can buy to decorate my virtual house in the game. Once in a while, when I really feel adventurous, I'll go do some questing, but not as often as you might think. I think sometimes it's just a nice game to come to when you don't have anything to say. You don't really know what to make of life. You can log in and collect rocks and flowers for a little while. There's something cathartic about it. But anyway, today I got an email from a lady who's worked for Walmart for a very long time. She's a higher level administrative assistant. And if you didn't know, I work for Walmart. I have worked for Walmart for quite a while. In any case, at a higher level, she has been an administrative assistant to a regional manager, and she just announced today that she's going to be retiring in a few months. And that's not really a surprise, because she is at the age when one would expect to retire. And yet, as I read that email and crafted a response to her to try to express the appreciation for what she's done and to have something nice to say about that, I kind of got to thinking about how time is this river that runs relentlessly, and you don't really realize how much things change or how relentlessly time passes until you look back and realize that quite a long time has gone by. I thought about how back around probably the year 2000, give or take, we went to the first Walmart store that I ever had been in. It was a small Walmart store in Auburn, Washington. And back at that time, the shopping carts said Discount City on them. And the Walmart stores looked very different. A lot more small and I guess maybe even cozy compared to what they are today, because that was before supercenters were a thing. In any case, I guess I'm saying all this just to accentuate the fact that a lot has changed in the last 2.5 decades. And it's crazy to say that because it doesn't really seem so very long ago, in a way. And yet so much has changed. You know, our cities have grown and more things have been built, like Walmart stores and retailers. I remember a few years ago, it seemed like there was a lot more expansion of new things, new shopping malls being built, new big box retailers. And now it feels more like there is a saturation point. And we reached the end of an era because there wasn't a need to build a whole bunch of new things anymore. We kind of had all the things that we needed, and then I guess the new frontier is stuff like online ordering or shopping like that, where you aren't even going into a physical store maybe. It's just hard to reconcile all the changes sometimes, change that happens in the world. And then I think about how there was a time when I felt a lot more excited about a lot of things, and everything seemed new and filled with opportunity. And a lot of times I didn't feel that way anymore. And I don't know, I really don't know to what part that I've changed and to what part it's that maybe the world is different than it used to be. I think it's probably about a 50-50 kind of a deal. But I do think that there's a certain cynicism that comes along with seeing the world change around you. And maybe we're critical of old people for that reason, because they allow that cynicism to define them a bit too much. They start to feel like everything should be viewed through the lens of being critical or cynical. I don't believe that. I think overall we should embrace the changes that come in the world and not view change as a negative thing or as a threat. But at the same time, it is hard when you feel like much of the world you remember is dramatically changed. And I was just thinking about that when this lady I was talking about announced her retirement, because every time one of those people who've been around for many decades working for the company, whenever one of them retires and goes away, the company loses a bit of itself. And maybe the logo is still there. Maybe it's still the same name on the corporation, but it's not the same thing anymore. What it used to be is gone. Just one little piece at a time. All of the individual elements, the people that made an organization what it was, they're all gone. And it's something new, something completely different now than what it used to be. And then, of course, those of us who remain have to contemplate what that means for us and how we will cope with life in a new order when things are all shaken up and different. I don't know where I'm really going with this other than to just say that change is sometimes difficult. I guess if I was going to sum it up with some sort of a lesson or a takeaway, I would say sometimes you just don't necessarily feel it in life. And I just saw a funny picture on Facebook where there's a picture of some kind of a kitchen gadget, and I guess the light on the front of it was burned out. I don't know what it was. It looked kind of like a rice cooker or something. And somebody had put a note on it that said, "I still work. My light just has gone out." And somebody shared that. I think we all feel like that sometimes. We're still going through the motions. We're still doing the things that we ought to do. We're still trying to take responsibility in life. And yet, it feels like our light has gone out. And then we have this question of, well, what do we do about that? And I think you just carry on. That's what I think it is. Because you still have your duties to perform. You still have your hobbies to take interest in. You still have the things that you've said you want to do. And sometimes if you continue onward, even when it feels a bit bleak, then you get to certain high points. You get to moments when the fog clears away, and when there's a sense of clarity, and when there's a sense of newness, and a sense of excitement. And maybe that's not all the time. Sometimes we just feel a bit jaded. We feel a bit used up. We feel like our light's gone out. But then sometimes you have a fresh cup of coffee and you face the world again, and you get into the right mood of things, and you just realize, life is actually pretty good. So try to hold out through all those times when you feel like your light's gone out. Try to hold out your sense of hope and optimism. Hang on to that. And then just know that from time to time, even if you do feel a little bit cynical, a little bit burned out, there's going to be moments when life does feel good again. And sometimes you just have to power through the moments in between. And then when you get to those special moments when life does feel good, you savor that. And then, I think there's a lesson about being supportive of new people and new ideas, the things that'll be going on and innovating after you're gone. Because there's something to be gained from celebrating others, from believing that you're part of something greater than yourself. And even if you aren't having an experience directly for your own sake, just knowing that you're part of perhaps making it possible for someone else to have a new experience, that's itself its own reward. So don't be so cynical that you rain on the parade of other people, and don't be so stuck in your head that you forget the fact that sometimes we just don't feel it. And if you keep on powering through and you don't give up hope and you stay the course, you'll probably find some more moments when it feels like the fog clears away and clear skies come, and you've got a nice sense of optimism once again. Sometimes life is hard to know what to make out of it, and that's all right. Maybe it's just like flying on instruments. Sometimes you have to keep the nose of the plane straight and level, and you've got to follow your charts and follow your procedures and just trust that you'll get through the fog at some point. And even if you never do, thankfully we're not the only people in the world. There's other people who will carry on if we, for some reason, don't. So believe in others too. Don't be too depressed when you encounter a foggy patch in life, and celebrate others who'll be the young, up-and-coming, optimistic people when you get a bit older and more cynical. And I always remember, sometimes when you feel a certain way, that doesn't necessarily have to be a true reflection of how things actually are. You can not feel okay, and you can still be okay. And I think that's important to remember, because sometimes we think the minute the clouds roll in and the minute we start to feel gloomy, we have to figure out how to fix it because it's broken. Life is broken in some way. And that's not really true. Like, sometimes you just don't feel it. Sometimes life seems a bit bleak. There's nothing really wrong with that at all. Just acknowledge it, move on, try to celebrate others, and try to find a way to have a bit of fun and be consistent in your personal life. Sometimes when I think about all the changes in the world and the technology that has changed, I think maybe we as human beings aren't exactly suited to enduring so much change in such a short period of time. When you think about how much change we've seen in just the last 100 years or so. In any case, strive to be happy. It's probably your best bet. So what of it? What's the hardest thing in your life to come to terms with, to, I guess, get your head around? Do you feel like it's hard to cope with all of the change that has happened in the world? Is there something that makes you feel like maybe you're more out of touch with things than you used to be? Have you noticed that maybe you used to feel more enthusiastic about things and now you feel like your light's gone out? If that's the case, how do you cope with it? How do you deal with that? How do you work through those things? I'd love to hear your thoughts. In any case, however you do it, good luck on your adventure and best of luck on that journey. And as always, thanks for watching.